It's just what? I raised my ass to him. We've been married for 9 months, that's all. And together 4 years before that. Long enough, surely. But how well do you ever really know someone? And he cheated on Hannah. I can't help the words that slip from my lips. I saw the text Hannah sent you. The text Hannah sent. When you were in the hospital, I didn't read it all. It popped up on your phone. I thought you were cool about Hannah now. I thought you understood. She's just a friend. My face grows hot with anger. You know how she feels about you, and guess what? I think you like it. His eyes widened in surprise. What? You like the attention. Would you be so understanding if my ex-boyfriend was invited to every fucking family dinner? If I stood next to him in the garden having cozy little cat chats? If he sent me texts asking me to keep secrets? I'm so angry that spit is flying from my mouth. I'm usually careful to control my temper in front of Jamie. In front of everyone. But all the fear, the resentment that's been building up is erupting out of me. Surprise rests on his face, but I'm on the road now. And don't say I'm paranoid or bloody irrational. I can't stand it when you say that. It's so patronizing. And yes, I am jealous. I'm jealous of the fact that you put her feelings before me. That your family seemed to like her more than me. That when we're around your mom's house, I feel so redundant, so unwelcome. My family has always welcomed you. No, they haven't. The only one who was nice to me is Florine. There was a stunned silence. I run out of steam now, so I throw the right clothes in the sink. Eventually, Jamie speaks. Lips. I'm sorry, but you have to trust me. I trust you. A pagan guilt rips through me. I'm not giving you any reason not to, I mumble. There's a lot I don't know about you. You never talk about your childhood. You never even wanted to go to York City. You never tell me anything about your parents. You keep everything bottled up, even what happened in Thailand. I know you haven't told me the full story there. What do you want to know? I glanced at him, my hands on my hip. I think you were badly hurt by someone you loved. He moves toward me, his eyes soft. I think your friend death has really affected you, has made you anxious about taking risks, trying anything new. You try to hide from anything that you deem dangerous, like flying or driving a car, but you can't. Look what happened at school. An accident that you couldn't have prevented, even though you spend your life trying to assess risk. Don't try to psychoanalyze me. You sound like your mother. All I want to know is that you sent Anna those letters. He backs away from me, his body heavy with disappointment, the softness in his eyes gone. I watch his face carefully to see if he's lying. No, I didn't. But it hurts me that you even have to ask. He listens sincere. I move toward him, my hand outreach. A sorry on my lips, but he walks out the room. Ain't no sorry on my lips. Because, as first of all, that wouldn't be the question I'm asking. What the fuck is the secret that Hannah told you to keep? We said something about it, but we ain't asked. I can't sleep that night. I toss and turn. The sheets twisting beneath me, hot with anxiety. All I can think about is Martin accusing Jamie. After we rolled, I apologized over slightly burnt pasta, and he assured me that it was a case of mistaken identity, that he would never cheat on me or hurt me. But Martin must have reason to think it was Jamie. And even though I believe Jamie, when he says he hadn't sent them, it unnerves me to think that someone wants Martin, and possibly me, to think that Jamie had stolen. Y'all identities got stolen. Chapter 17. The next day, another parcel was hanging out of our letterbox from the same catalog company. I recognized the garnished orange wrapping instantly. Don't open it, warned Jamie as I sit with it in front of me at the kitchen table. He's standing by the kettle. His eyes are tired. He was up until 1 a.m. working. You know you didn't order it, so just return it. I need to know what it is. I can't help but think those parcels are personal. He asked me a mug of tea. Why? I don't know, but the head was they stayed here. They had access to our information. How do you know this isn't down to them? He always meant to tell me not to be paranoid, but when he noticed my expression, he shuts it again. I tentatively tear open the plastic. It looks like some kind of wig, long and golden brown. What can this mean? What is it? James peers over my shoulder. A wig? Why wouldn't anyone send me a wig? I touch my own hair self-consciously, check that it hasn't started falling out. He doesn't say anything. When I swivel around in my chair, I notice he's moved away from me and is looking out the window. He has his back to me, so I can't see his face, but from the rigidness of his body, I can tell he's tense. Jamie, are you okay? It's then I notice the phone pressed to his ear. I didn't hear it ring. He walks out of the room to his office, phone clamped to his ear. It must be a work call, I think, as I pick up my own file and dial the catalog company. Hannah. I push this thought away. The woman I speak to is helpful, informing me I opened an account last Thursday at 10 a.m., the day we were returning from Cornwall, and ordered the bag and wig online 20 minutes later. I try to keep the frustration out of my voice as I inform her that there is a mistake, that I hadn't opened an account or ordered anything. Please, can you close it, I ask? And if someone tries to open another account under my name, can you let me know? It's very important. She assures me she do as I ask, but I feel unsettled as I put the phone down. Why would someone do this to me? When I returned from the post office, so through from a downpour because I forgot my umbrella, a man I don't recognize is sitting drinking tea at the kitchen table with Jamie. He's wearing a Colombo-style macintosh with dark patches on the shoulders and back where he's been pelted with rain. He looks to be in his late 50s with a stern face and thick bifocal glasses perched on his nose. Libby, Jamie pushes back in his chair when he sees me. His face is devoid of color, making his stubble look more prominent. His whole demeanor is tense. This is Detective Sergeant Bryans. He got some news about the Haywoods. I slide into the chair nervously. My eyes dart to Jamie to try and assess his emotions, but his face is closed, his lips pressed together so tightly that they turn white. I brace myself for news of Tara's murder. Spending time in her home amongst the detour that she had chosen, the photographs on her wall with her beautiful clothes hanging in the wardrobe, I feel a sense of her loss, even though I never knew her. I can't bear the attention any longer. Is she dead? I brought out. Who asked it? Detective D.S. Bryans frowning. Tyra Haywood. Why would you think she's dead, Miss Hoss? His voice is calm, but I get the note of suspicion. Is it directed at us? Does he think we had something to do with Tara's death? Because of the clothing that we found in the garden, the blood. He says to me when it makes me feel on edge, as though I've done something wrong. No, she's not dead. Both the Haywoods are alive and well. You'll be pleased to hear. We finally managed to locate them. They've been away. Well, yes, I frowned. Of course they've been away, I want to shout. They've been here. He carries on as if I hadn't spoken. They live in London, where they've been for months. He peers at me over the rim of his thick glasses. They never heard of you, or he inclines his head in Jamie's direction, Mr. Hall. They know nothing about the house. They know nothing about the house swap. In fact, they are under the impression that their Conwell home is empty. I can tell by Jamie's body language that he's always been told this news. Shock renders me speechless for a few seconds. D.S. Bryans assesses me coldly. But I don't understand. Neither do we, he says in the same grave voice. Can you tell me from the beginning everything that happened that led to this so-called house swap? I notice he has an A4 notebook and a pen in front of him. He clips the pen, end of the pen with his thumb and presses it against the paper, turning to me expectantly. Jamie leans across the table and gives my hand a reassuring squeeze. Go get the leaflet, lips. I leap out of the chair and hurry in the hallway. I shove the leaflet in the top drawer of the unit by the door just in case I lost Philip's number or there had been a problem. It's gone. It ain't there no more. He done went through all y'all shit. He ain't got all your fucking information. He is either he crazy or you crazy. I don't know who's crazy, but at this point, somebody is in the lost their mugs. I rummaged through the drawer, taking all the papers out and rifling through them. But the leaflet is nowhere to be found. With a sinking feeling, I return to the kitchen. I can't find it, I say. I can see the dismay written all over Jamie's face. It said that they were looking for a house swap, that they needed to be near a hospital as their daughter was undergoing life-saving surgery. He gave his phone number. I spoke to him. He was from the north like me. D.S. Bryan smiles to himself as though she's party to a joke nobody else can understand. And that's when I realized there's no proof that the person we spoke to was Philip Haywood. I sit down with a sigh. Look, I began, trying to remain calm as I reiterate the facts. I spoke to a man on the phone. She says he was called Philip Haywood. I Googled him. He seemed respectable. He came to get the keys from my neighbor upstairs. You can check with her. Her name's Evelyn Goodwin, and a woman was seen here too. A glass was left with a lipstick mark on it. I cursed myself for washing it and not keeping it as proof, but I had no reason to think I need to. They had been here. I could hear my voice rising in desperation. And they do own the hideaway because I looked it up before we went, just to be sure. He clears his throat. It's true they do own the property, but they've been at their home in London since the end of February. Neighbors have corroborated their story. The Haywoods don't have a daughter. They don't have any children. He takes his glasses off and leans towards me. I don't know who was staying in your flat last week, Miss Hall, but it certainly wasn't the Haywoods. I thought the Haywoods was dead, so I'm happy to hear they laugh. That's a good thing. I was like, dang, they dead? But it's like, the story, I'm not going to stunt, the story is kind of dry, and like, we're not really going nothing, we're not really doing nothing. It's just like, when we think we finna, like, when we think something finna happen, it's just like, alright, no. No. Chapter 18. I half expect D.S. Bryant to arrest us, but instead he stands up and stuffs his notebook back into the briefcase, telling him he'll be in touch, as though he's a traveling salesman, not a detective. I'll be back in a few days to interview your neighbor, he says. We sit at the table and the sun shines after he leaves, unable to take in what we heard. I can't get my head around the notion that we've been conned, that someone had used Philip and Tierra's home to swap with ours, but why? Jimmy puts his head in his hand and groans. What have we done? His head shoots up, his eyes narrow. We let strangers in our home, and we don't even know their real names. They could have done anything while they were here. Rifled through our personal stuff. They could have bank statements, credit card numbers. They were obviously in the study. I could tell my folder had been moved. He throws us up in the air. We're fucked. No, we're not. We need to cancel all our cards, check any accounts that have been opened in our name, I say calmly. We've been unlucky, that's all. Lots of people do house swaps. Maybe the Highwoods are lying to the police. Have you thought about that? Maybe he has killed his wife and is trying to frame us. He says, why would he even do that? I don't know, I meant. He needs someone to pin the blame on. He takes a deep breath and I can see he's making an effort to control his frustration. He spreads his hands out in front of him on the table. Okay, here's what we know. Somebody, either Haywoods or someone else, posted a leaflet through our door, asking to swap homes. Were we targeted on purpose, or did they do a leaflet drop along this road and we were the only ones to bite? I frown. I don't know. Does it make a difference? Of course it does, Lips. Don't you see? If we were the only ones to receive a leaflet, then they wanted our particular flat. And if that's the case, it's obviously personal. I'm appalled at the thought. I can't get my head around any of this. It doesn't make sense. Why would someone want to use our flat? You think they'll use the Haywoods house to get us out of the way? And if it wasn't Philip and Tara, it must be someone they know. Someone who has a key. His eyes light up. Or someone who knew that they were away a lot. Maybe they had a key cut without Philip Tara knowing. Like that Jim, he was really weird following us about, or that other bloke at Lizard Point. He was definitely acting odd. Or maybe Philip and Tara aren't as innocent in all this as they make out. Maybe there never was a cover up for them. Philip killed his wife, or they both killed someone else. Despite our situation, I smiled at Jamie, feeling closer to him than I ever since Cornwall. Because he's finally admitting that something is very wrong. He's not dismissing me as paranoid. This is actually happening to us. He smiles back, a little uncertainty. Then he stands up, pushing his chair away in a sudden fit of frustration. We're just going around in circles, aren't we? We are. I have to do something constructive. I can't sit here ruminating any longer. I'm going upstairs to see Evelyn, I say, also standing up. It's only 5:30 p.m. Not so late to go call her. Jamie looks quizzical. Why? Because she handed our key to a man who calls himself Philip Haywood. And I also want to see if she received the leaflet too. I never thought to ask before. He pulls me to his arms. It will be all right. Please don't worry, Libs. I know what you like. After everything, he trails off. He doesn't have to finish. I know what he's trying to say. It's been a traumatic few months, and now this. He brushes my hair back from my face. I lean against his chest. It always felt safe before. Wrapped in Jamie's arms, my head only reaching his collarbone so he could rest his chin on my head. But this time, I'm not sure if even Jamie can stop the unease that has settled like dust into every layer of my being. I fear I'll never feel safe again. But it seems like a lot of questions are about to get answered, so we happy about that. Evelyn opens her front door cautiously, peering out with brown, frightened eyes. When she sees me standing on her step, she visually relaxes. But even as she ushers me into the hallway, urging me to get out of the rain, she still wears that pinched, worried look on her face. Are you alright, I ask? She nods and waves her hand dismissively. I'm fine, don't worry about me. Just a hint of indigestion. She rubs her floral blouse with a fist to illustrate her point. Although that doesn't explain her fearful expression when she opened the door. I follow her into the drawing room and watch as she makes herself comfortable in her usual seat by the window. I sit opposite her. I don't want to worry her, but I feel her in on what the detective told us earlier. So the man who came to get the key, what did he look like? I asked her gently. She has a cup of tea next to her, which she brings to her lips with an unsteady hand. Like I said before, he was mid-30s. He looked a little bit older than your Jamie, but not much. I recall the photo of Philip Haywood on Google. His dark hair flecked with gray and neatly combed into a side parting. His trim mustache, the shoulders of a pinstripe suit visible in the shot. He looked as it to be in his late 40s at least. Did he have dark hair and a mustache? I can barely keep still. My whole body jaggles with anticipation like the bracelets on Sylvia's wrist. She frowns, replacing her teacup on the side table carefully. No, no, definitely not a mustache. She picks up her knitting. It looks like the beginning of baby booties in a soft lemon wool, and the sight of them fills me with longing. I've only just begun telling people I was pregnant before the miscarriage. The Toby scan had been days away. We've been so excited, Jamie and I. So looking forward to being parents. We had such plans, and the pregnancy had gone well. I experienced no side effects, no nausea. I cradled my stomach. There was still a slight bulge. My periods aren't back to normal. My body's out of sorts and hormonal. It's only been 5 weeks, after all. Evelyn was so kind to me afterwards. I've been a midwife when she been a midwife when she was young, she told me, and seen it all before. I wonder who she's needing them for before my mind snaps back to Dr. Philip. Evelyn pauses from her knitting and assesses me, eyebrows raising. It's hard to tell really because he was wearing a hat. A hat? Yes, one of those ugly ones you young people like to wear nowadays. She gives a short, sharp laugh, like a tweakoisy. Do you mean a beanie I managed? Yes, that's it, a beanie. He had one of those on, and a really fleecy thing. It's the same man. It has to be. The man from Lizard Point. The man who had been watching on the beach near the hideaway. Who was he and what did he want? Everyone carries on knitting the needle clanking. Radio 2 is on the radio in the background, and Sam Mayo is chatting to a guest. I swallowed down my nausea. Did you ever receive a leaflet through the post asking if you would do a house swap? She glances up at me over her needles, which are still moving at speed. No, I didn't get anything like that. She stops knitting and looks serious. Do you think this man is responsible for all those strange things that happened to you on the holiday? I shake my head. I don't know. I think so. He's obviously not Philip Haywood. I don't know who he is. Like I said before, I didn't get this since he stayed very long in your flat. That's probably right. After all, he couldn't have been in the bath for very long if he was following us down to Cornwall. Long enough to do something, I met with a breathless sigh. I just wish I knew what. I said I'm to leave. I better get back. But please promise me, Evelyn, if you notice anything weird, anyone hanging around our flat, would you let me know? She stands up too. I'm short, but she unleashes my shoulder. There is something. What? What is it? I know this man. Not always the same man, but different men. Lurking around outside. They're not done anything. It's just that they are waiting. Waiting? Yes, and I'm sure of what. But it has frightened me a little bit. Was what she been so reluctant to open the door earlier? You know, she says folding her knitting away and plus it on the side table. I do see some strange things sometimes, sitting here all day. She takes one of my hands, her skin feeling like tissue paper, thin and fragile. Please be careful living, my love. Y'all always been so good to me. Evelyn is scaring me now. What strange do you see? She blinks as though inadvertently debating whether to tell me. And then I've also seen a woman hanging around outside. A woman? It might be nothing. I'm not sure. It's probably just a coincidence. She sighs. Just be careful. Be aware. That's all I'm saying. When you get to my age, you realize there are a lot of strange people out there. People who think nothing of hurting others. And some of them can be the closest person to you. She smiles regretfully. My husband always tells me the truth. I wasted so many years with him. Let's make sure you get the truth, Libby, my dear. As I return to the flat, looking over my shoulder for the shadowy nameless man that she talked about, or the faceless woman, I have a distant, unnerving impression that she's been trying to warn me about Jamie. Oh, snap. What is going on? I feel more lost. We are in chapter 19, and I feel loster than when I started this story. Like, we know for a fact that in the beginning of the book, she killed Jamie. But we've been trying to figure out why she wanted to kill Jamie. Like, what? Is it the affair that he probably having with Hannah? Does he have a secret life? Is he trying to kill her to take them? I'm not making any sense. I'm not making any sense. And if you can't feel this and think that, I don't know what to tell you, but I'm not feeling like I'm making sense. Chapter 19. As I close the shutters before bed that evening, I see a figure on the other side of the room. It's too dark and too far away to tell if it's a man or woman, but by the height I think there must be a female. Their features are masked by the door light, but I can make out they're leaning against the garden wall of the house opposite and smoke a cigarette. Who would be hanging around at this time of night? Right? Is this the woman Evelyn was talking about? When I look again, 10 minutes later, the person has gone. I hardly sleep. Evelyn was spinning round and round in my head, refusing to be dislodged, like a wayward sock in a washing machine. Every time a shadow passes across our roaming blind or the sound of a pen clatters in the street, I wake up with a start. My heart pounding, my nightwear clinging to my sweaty skin. What was Evelyn trying to tell me? Was she insinuating that Jamie wasn't to be trusted? Suspicion swells inside of me. I so desperately want to think the best of Jamie, but I can't stop the nagging voice in my head telling me that Anya is beautiful, that Jamie by himself in the house all day and has plenty of opportunities for an affair, that he's cheated before. How would it have started? Had they bumped into each other while he was out walking Ziggy? Most people stop to stroke or cool over our dog, and Jamie is handsome, friendly. And we had our promises these past few months. Has Jamie head been turned by Anna? Had they got talking and didn't realize their mutual attraction? Did they fall into bed together, unable to stop themselves? My thoughts are running away from me like an excitable toddler. I know deep down that Jamie loves me, and he's too disorganized, too moralistic to conduct a double life. I don't know now. But then Hannah's text message pops into my head along with the little voice reminding me that he's keeping something from me. Something Hannah doesn't want me to know. Is Hannah behind the hawk swap? Did she send me the backpack and the wig? But it doesn't make sense. Why would she? And what about the bloody clothing we found in the Haywood's garden? If it doesn't belong to Tara, then whose is it? Right? On Saturday morning, I often take Ziggy for his morning walk. Jamie pauses from typing the laces on his trainers to look up at me. It's only exercise I get, he says, sounding disappointed. I sometimes run with him. I'm stuck behind the desk all day. Is that the only reason he's so desperate to do it? Or is he hoping to bump into Anna? Let's go together then, I suggest. He seems surprised, but he doesn't eject as we amble down the street. In fact, he seems happy to take my hand in his. It's a sunny day, unusually warm for April, and I'm only wearing a thin jacket over a t-shirt and jeans. I purposely led him past Anna's house, hoping to spot her. I'm not sure why. Maybe I want to see how Jamie reacts if we bump into her. If he really has sent her romantic cards, if he really does have a schoolboy crush on her. I will know by the way he acts around her. Martin's car is in the driveway, a black shiny BMW, but there's no sign of either of them, much to my disappointment. I wonder as we head to the part where Martin actually believes his wife has been unfaithful. Maybe she really is having an affair. Maybe there's another Jamie and he jumped into the wrong conclusions. We spend Easter Sunday with Jamie's family like we always do. At times like this that I miss a family of my own to spend the holidays with. I wish Hannah, noting the many times she tries to engage Jamie in a private conversation. Could she have hired some man to pretend to be Philip Haywood to drive a wedge between me and Jamie? But that's just too bizarre. Surely she's not capable of that kind of manipulation. I observe her bustling around Sylvia, helping set the table and placing pretty dainty napkins on plates. My officers help were battered away earlier by Sylvia with a slightly hurried expression. I also studied Katie as she flits around the house in her too skimpy clothes, acting like a teenager she still thinks she is. Hair ropes around her shoulders, a strand woven around one of her fingers. She has a new boyfriend for her, someone else to squeeze in around the oval dining table, and for Sylvia to fuss over. He's older, handsome in the obvious kind of way, with 2 white teeth, dark hair, and a square desperate Dan jaw. His name Garnered, and they met through friends apparently. He went to Shelford. Night, didn't you, Gifford? Katie says over the roast duck, like you had, lad, Libby. Gifford, who's sitting between Katie and Hannah and opposite me, Florrie and Jamie, grins insanely. I certainly did. There's something about him I don't like. He seems too pleased with himself. With his top-of-the-range car and his job in events management, he assesses me with his hooded eyes. He resembles a crow. What year did you graduate? I'm a proud roast. I proud of roast potato with my fork. 2008. 2000 for me. I'm a little older than you. That made him 10 years older than Katie. He looks like the type of man who thinks it's a status symbol to have a young woman on his arm, as though Katie is a flash model to brag about. What course did you do? English lit. My mouth is going to go dry. Garrett's too nosy for my liking. Me too. Do you remember Professor Peterson? He was a right one, wasn't he? I'm sure he had narcolepsy because he seemed to fall asleep as he talked. Either that, his lectures were so sophistic, he bored himself. He laughed at his own joke, and I grinned along, chewing my potato. Katie can't stop stroking his arm and grazing adoringly at him. Richard, who's sitting at the head of the table opposite Sylvia, watches them with interest over his glass of red wine, and so he hopes they'll start having sex right there and then. Jamie now had grief before the meal, not to mention the disturbing developments in our fears about the Haywoods to Jamie's family. We still hope that there was a simple explanation for it all. Although as time goes by, I'm at a loss to know what that could be. Janet is staring at me expectantly. Another question about our university days already forming on the lip. He opens his mouth. And do you remember? I need to change the subject quickly. I don't want to be engaged in conversation with Garnard any longer. Florian, I cut right across him in my best teacher's voice, clear and confident. I really love that top you're wearing. Where did you get it? Damn, you don't... All these secrets. All these secrets.